Chapter 12 to be uploaded later. Text for the video literature for music. Wild stuff from music. It's like the last piece that you came across. Opening. The sound of crackling at a low volume. Gradually building higher only to be introduced with a voice that states, ha 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 ha. Over to Texas and back through void systems. Speak, speak, speak. Internet sound of wayward disconnection. The crackling sound continues only to be introduced by gobbling water sounds and metal bars, dropping to concrete, followed by the hushed sound of distant traffic driving through wet tarmac roads, and one long sound of sirens blazing, which becomes the main effect until a voice roars, cut! Too stereotypical and native waka waka waka. This is immediately followed by the sound of guitar strum, followed by electric guitar, gradually being introduced to play with foot pedals of a wild loop of a sound that might sound like weak weeping gargoyle speaking terrorist groans of art display to Cookie Express of Florence Nightingale, Mystery of Rosary Pose, Rosary Rose, Stars display of Rosary Rosie, Posy, Rosary Rosary Posy. End of loop, which goes on about 3 times. The sound blends into a high crackling sound of radio-like speakers, bringing the hush of in-between radio stations gaps to the dial system of tuning into a radio on long-wave radio, which is then followed by the sound of feet walking across a stage made of wood with creaking floorboards. A baton. The conductor speaks. It's a woman. Darlings, starlings, strings. Multiple sounds of wayward orchestra full of violins going in all directions for about a minute and a half. This is followed by a sound of thousands of starlings flooding a park with a hush of wind through leaves. The wind continues for about 10 seconds. A voice states, now what? Another voice states, electricity like what? Introduction. Soft violin playing that sounds so romantic, fresh from the fact of 1950s style black and white movie like performance of Casablanca, or a style of kissing romance which is clean for about 2 minutes until the crackling begins again, and it sounds like an old 50s style musical record being broken up until it becomes a violin crackling loop effect with the sound of zum 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 zum. This is then followed by a sound of several thousand zipper lighters flicking open with the sound of gas flames that kind of maneuvers into a whoosh sound effect to end the sequence. The violins return to a romantic display of expression that sounds like fresh spring through veil-like portraits of singers in the nude by old dreams of the newest dreams of fresh express to the reason of no pain, where lions roar through the Serengeti plains of godly gaze between the expression of love through old tricks of dance galore. This is followed by a tenor, coupled with the low sound of a violin, with the words of the tenor as follows. We love you all through a viva train, just as there is expressed virtues known as ventriloquist policies of streams of piss understood as water vapour, falling down through wallpaper delights of sugar cane. Soprano. You couldn't possibly love everyone. You have broken hearts and brought shame on a town through your cocks at every vagina mark, and how could any person forgive a being for the disgust of a million of men who've all done the same? 5 female sopranos. We go puke like this and puke like that, puke and choke. The women chokingly puke into a piece of concrete slabs. Soprano. Why? Why do men have to be so bloody sick? Tenor, look at them, they know nothing of liver and kidneys. There are false reports of so many worlds, including my own world, to every dimension of my mouth known as execution plan for the masses of mind-controlled victims of news, expression being a sperm count of a regular man walking through shards of glass, known as innocent one being merely a probe to draft a plan known as power world, and a smear of vagina liquid in pregnancy, all for the love of Oedipus, through all your disgust in allowing Bulgarians steal babies from men when I announce, it's not me, and it's nobody I know, and it's not all men, and it's not all fathers. Stop pointing fingers, all of you. I'm simply the messenger man. Soprano. Yes, we know. But everything in this state is your bread and butter. It is only high art from now on. We understand your clarity. You defend our men, the best men. You have to understand the fetus is the first form of incest. Pity about the twins and the triplets and all the rooms. And all I ever wished for was to be a peaceful teaching father of my own children without all that mess of disgust, philosophize and poeticize. We love you, Signor. We always did. Suddenly there is a cymbal sound, Chinese sound. This is followed by bells of a cathedral and sound of a large city with cars honking. A man shouts amid the noise, heard at a very low sounding pitch that is heard at the same time as the bells. Jazz, 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 jazz. The sound of a trumpet follows. It's wayward sounding. It might have the appearance of the following. Give me a wayward express through the holistic presence of silence, not always knowing what spot through the dimensional theory of being lost in space and heaven with the angel style of coffee presented by a laugh of musicians, dark days of wild material forms of war, known as red light fathers seen through gallons of lager and then gallons of oil, to nobody in return apart from a Turkish bath known as hologram one, and being cozy wuzzy in coma chrome ventures of sandcastles express his breast on a beard of a statue known as Paris of Wisdom, understood as divine prayers to elephant chambers, expressing doubts of God through the mayhem of wishing the best prayers could be answered through all the diamonds, expressing boys promised to return as a bleached white marble, discussing faiths known as 17 pairs of dove slaves announced as chestnut trees in the full twisted games of conquerors on a jacuzzi wanderer. Enter bells ringing, buzzing sounds and rock and roll blues guitar sounds, which last for a few seconds, followed by the following piano. Click bell ring nigger, St. Patrick chant born from the ecstasy of boohoo laughter of bells ringing endorsements for weeping nuns and their numbers of accepting fate, of a lassie's photographic shout out, of a name changing exercise for passport purposes, and not a phone with an insightful view of a man's hip through a boohoo shout of Emmanuel's love for boohoo through the looking glass of accepting fate of every person who has to bow before a king or queen in a full-style tune of France and the door spring of the biggest killing laboratory of mental exercises through every known sham declaring war on the business of nobody's child, streaming broadcast views of solid sherbet lemon being presented to beatniks in a sky is known as radical power of surprise through the feats of jazz jingle pop. What follows is a sudden wild jazz drum number with several offbeat beats, which is later accompanied by a double bass sound that slows down the drumming to a simple rat-tat-tat sound. This rat-tat-tat continues for about 3 minutes until a man shouts through a megaphone announcing the arrival of Miss Elizabeth Carmichael. The announcer goes, "Ha! Miss Elizabeth Carmichael, pop diva, jazz mistress of barefoot express through Cold War patheticism and all the liberal philosophy of paint splurge, their echoes of harlequin nature, types of known as types, ha, pop diva. Big drum roll, cymbal. This is followed by a synthesizer style of zipping through a tinkly piano style mess up of the pianist saying, Sorry, I'm trying to get this right. Elizabeth states, It's okay, yes, I understand. The pianist plays Twinkle Twinkle by Mozart. A drum roll. This is followed by the synthesizer working to get the 80s sound. Announcer through the megaphone. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Elizabeth Carmichael shall sing for us a number known as Healthy Heaven. I drifted through starry nights, expression of golden lights, following me through the name of coins expressed through visions of supernatural range, and the old ways of strange temple hammocks dancing to the joys of a million boys, known as army toys for the policy of peace, according to the shadows of morning dreams, of the highest plains of every last type of kite. Give it to me now, the rage of doom, meet me at noon and we'll sing a tune, to a spoon. To every call of a hall, we forget the best, and 1,001 men wishing to die, while eating all the meals, when all considered, gulping hearts known as faces so stern, with a comical identity known as entity, to a looking glass of mass, known as the pass of bright light victors, to every type of golden Christ of the biggest heist. Give it to me now, the sight of doom, meet me at noon and we sing a song to his moon. When every tale is told to the cold, we express joy at the boy despairing through the hue of wild boars being hunted by the horror of every frown, known as the clown of broken hearts, with the parts of starts, known as carts of cherry flame, in a game of chess, under duress of address, in a mess of watercress, and all I caress is you. And then it ends with the chorus. End pop song and a round of applause follows, the sound of thousands of hands clapping, a drum roll, guitar whine, foot pedals, and loops follows, which sounds like Esconaut deplorerastical straight distance through the hoopa-doopa wail of Esconaut deplorerastical straight distance through the hoopa-doopa wail of Esconaut deplorerastical chick portrait shows the element of surprise through Doris ranges expletives drowning the corpunistical portrayal of hornets running through vortex fields trying to rein in an old storage keeper who'd flattened the nonsense into a drug-induced psychosis attempt on his own life, losing the plot of ever knowing the full truth of any truth belonging to joyous factory display of a mock-up of Warhol in a mushroom field south of Yorkshire, known as Willowberry 1-1 cold gull of types of endocrine drums through starring degrees of mayhem understood as ash and gold symmetry in a mirror Yeats display of art portraits known as dinosaur victims wondering about meteorites through every last known range of caste-shaping cookies to varying degrees of monsters in old school light brigade cringe about muscular victims in all life weirdness of run through display of lungs as government intoxications for the poor of tripped out lamenters understood through cable car inventors wishing for gold Macintosh becoming a confessional theory of winter under the direction of booms low around leprechauns for summer rangers. A keyboard is introduced over the full loop of that particular guitar whine, which continues for 3 looping whines until the following keyboard is announced to play various organistic sounds with intermittent Buddhist bells. The atmosphere suddenly changes with a thud, followed by and the presentation goes with a piano that sounds like I am known as the man of a best friend with a wife who's struggling her own way to be capable of fully concentrating her mighty focus on a rose-tinted matchmaking exercise that moves mountains of Norway into the valley of youth, parallel to the stair boat of her own tears and fears of what happens next, in a most exquisite form of discovering a prince to save her from the trials of every last tear. He then studies with silence, no music. Elope with me. First she hears him when he states, when you stare into my eyes and admire the portrait of an atom being known as a microscoped version, like a germ-like heartbeat. You'd be surprised by my bounds for joy for the most radicalized portrait of immense sobriety through the cross-town dresser verdict of explaining nothing and the shame. And then the woman with the megaphone again. Christmas Christ in dungarees. This is followed by the sound of cars honking. End. End of that chapter. We're moving on in a second to chapter 13.